Armored Core lore, the combat vehicles of Armored Core. While Armored Cores are the kings and queens of the battlefield in all Armored Core eras, there are other machines of war that worked alongside these masters of the battlefield, while also falling to them in great numbers. These combat vehicles of Armored Core, while not the main cast in the grand stage show of Armored Core, I think it's time to shine a light on the supporting crew that kept the show going. I am taking the classification of what can be called a combat vehicle from the book Armored Core: The Mechanical Guide, pages 156 to 158. This means in this classification we have tanks, ground-based wheeled vehicles, and a few floating vehicles. I'll also be using other books to pull names and information from, which I will note as I talk about them. So where else to begin than the original Armored Core? I'll be taking the names and information about these vehicles from the Armored Core Official Guide, page 146, and the Armored Core Official Data Book, pages 74 to 86, to which the 6 vehicles are classed by the Armored Core Official Guidebook as combat vehicles. To start, we have the CW-283, an industrial crane that has had its end of its arm modified into a beam cannon. These can be seen being used by rebelling workers, and as the Zan Guard's own word describes them, radicals opposed to area redevelopment. Next is the Taichi Kaze, also named Big Blade in Armored Core Nexus, the single-wheeled combat bike. It is a combat vehicle that runs on a single tire and is powered by a superconducting in-hub motor. A balancer unit is connected to the rear of the vehicle to maintain its stability and allow it to perform light maneuvers on both flat and rough ground. It is armed with a machine gun built into it and a missile launcher mounted to the rear of the vehicle. Interestingly, in the Armored Core Mechanical Guide, page 157, the very same vehicle is only noted to be armed with 2 rear-mounted missile launchers. The Tanky M&E. These small hover/electrical type aircraft have 2 differences. The E-type is an aircraft with electronic warfare equipment on the top of its small hover body. It has no weapons, however its electronic warfare capabilities are very powerful. It is noted to have large ducts on the left and right sides of the body for the craft to take in air, and another duct on its underside for lifting, usually painted a grey colour. The M-type's only difference is that it has a missile launcher on the top of its head rather than electronic warfare equipment, and 2, it is painted red. The Norwaki, or Nowig as written in the Armored Core Mechanical Guide, it is labelled as a 4-legged tank in the Armored Core Official Databook and falls into the Combat Vehicle section of the Armored Core Official Guidebook. However, it would be classed as a 4-legged muscle tracer in the Mechanical Guide. This is just to clear up, as this would suggest in other literature that classification of what counts as a combat vehicle can change. Still, the Nowig, this 4-legged tank, has 4 legs with spherical wheels on each of the legs' tips to allow movement and to attack freely. A spherical beam turret is equipped with a beam cannon as its main gun, as well as 4 micro-missile hatches and an aerial mine launcher installed around the jump nozzle on the bottom of its body. The Hurricane is up next, an armoured command vehicle, designed and produced by Chrome Automobile, the automobile manufacturing division of Chrome. It is a 6-wheel drive vehicle with independent suspension, and the body is made up with reinforced aluminium. The vehicle itself is powered by a hydrogen turbine engine. In addition to the driver's seat, it is equipped with an expensive command and communication equipment, and it is designed with NBC protection in mind. This meaning measures have been taken to defend against nuclear, biological, and chemical threats. However, since I've mentioned Chrome Automobile, I better give some details about it. A part of Chrome, a group that is in charge of developing automobiles for the same company, After reconstruction following the Great Destruction, they absorbed a military vehicle maker called Harry Gran Inc. The staff from the General Automobile Manufacturing was then merged, and they began to operate as a corporation. They are currently working on producing the armored vehicle called Hurricane, among other projects. The Jaguar Tank. Although tanks have been on the decline thanks to the advent of armored cores, the fact remains that their armor and firepower are powerful, as such many are still in service. The Jaguar is one such tank, armed with a smoothbore main gun and a supporting missile launcher. It also has additional armor around the turret, making it a powerful combat vehicle. What makes the Jaguar unique, however, is the 4 nozzles used to allow it to jump on its left and right sides. Finally, we have one vehicle not seen in-game, but found in the book Armored Core Official Data Guide, the Typhoon. Like the Hurricane, this vehicle is designed and produced by Chrome Automobile. It is a single battle-armored vehicle, developed to enable high-speed deployment on rough ground up to a certain extent. In some situations, it has succeeded in achieving single-field combat capabilities above an armored core. It is an independent 4-wheel drive vehicle, usually equipped with a 6-barrel 30mm Gatling gun on the top of the vehicle, but it can be replaced with other weapons. Ready for Armored Core Project Phantasma next? It's here we have another 6 combat vehicles, starting with the Centaur Tank. Its name can be found in the Armored Core Mechanical Guide, page 156. Before I go on, credit must be given to a user named AnduX on the Armored Core Wiki, who has the full scans of the pages about these vehicles and their information from this unknown book I have yet to find. Still, the Centaur tank was designed with anti-AC combat in mind, equipped with twin 20mm anti-aircraft machine guns on the top of the turret, which can rotate and move freely. The main gun of this tank is a 120mm smoothbore gun with an automatic reloading device, while the armor of the tank is made up of weightless alloy. All this is powered by a hydrogen turbine engine. The Dragon is our next combat vehicle, with this information found on page 85 of the Unknown Armored Core book and 156 of the Armored Core Mechanical Guide. It is a self-propelled rocket artillery vehicle for rear support. It is equipped with a launcher that can store 8 rockets at the rear of the vehicle. The Dragon was primarily developed for wide-range attacks against invading hostile forces and deep attacks into their territory. The rockets that are fired from the Dragon are multi-purpose, and a variety of warheads can be used. Some examples are cluster bombs for wide area surface suppression and wide area anti-armor shells. Next up is the Taurus, a very conventional armored core transport vehicle used by many companies in the many underground cities. Its body is made up of reinforced aluminium, has an independent suspension with 6-wheel drive, and like all modern vehicles of this era, is powered by a hydrogen turbine engine. It is noted, however, on page 84 of the Unknown book that the Taurus cannot cross rivers on its own. We then have 3 rather odd combat vehicles, namely the Combat Rig/Battle Rig, the Papagayan, and the Kafa. The Combat Rig is generally called a hover tank, but this is strictly not true, as it does not have armor like a tank. As such, it would be more true to call the Combat Rig a floating self-propelled gun. A self-propelled gun that is powered by a generator designed for use in armored cores, and deploys a defensive screen against solid and energy bullets to prevent enemy attacks. The Papagayan is up next. This type of aircraft should be classified as a combat rig that was born as a new generation weapon to rival the armored core. It uses the same propulsion system as the combat rig. Although it does not have the tactical flexibility as an armored core does, it is expected to become a powerful rival to them in the future. It is equipped with a high-power laser cannon at the front of the nose and rocket launchers on both sides of the nose. Our final vehicle from Project Phantasma is one called the Caffar, from the pages of the Armored Core Mechanical Guide, page 157. Its description, unlike the other two, reads that this is a self-propelled tank that was put into practical use in the 200s. It glides along the ground rather than flying, and has a cannon in its nose that is comparable to that of a light tank's main gun. Master of Arena is a smaller list altogether, this time with only 3: the Gi, the Puppy, and one unnamed huge tank/ground-based battleship. Let's start with the simple ones here. The Puppy is the name I found when getting the pages of 2 books translated for this self-propelled gun, these being the Armored Core Master of Arena Guide and another Master of Arena Guide book by SoftBank. The Puppy is described as a simple, self-propelled gun with a missile pod on top. It is able to fire 2 missiles once, but lacks short-range armaments. Next we have the Gi. Again, this is what both the books named this armoured car. It's described as an armoured vehicle used in combat zones with no offensive capabilities. It is a rather slow-moving vehicle. The final troublemaker of this lot is the unnamed huge battle tank, or as the books call it, more like a battleship. The books do not name this huge machine of war in either of the mission detail pages, nor in the common enemy bios. All we know is the game calls this a tank, as such I fear would fall into our combat vehicles of Armored Core. So with this, the first 3 Armored Core games are covered. Now for the second generation. Starting in Armored Core 2, we have the following combat vehicles: the Red Line and the Wireless. These names come from the Armored Core Mechanical Guide, page 158. The Red Line is a combat vehicle used as an escort for supporting and transport vehicles. In preparation for an attack, it is equipped with a large caliber rocket launcher, with enough firepower to take out a foe in one shot. Furthermore, to aid it in its role as an escort combat vehicle, the defences of this vehicle have been ramped up, and it is noted to have been tuned with maneuverability in mind. Finally, we have the Wireless. It is one of the variations on the idea of a combat vehicle, and has gained great power by having armour on the entire surface of the vehicle. The large cannon mounted on its rear has excellent ground targeting capabilities. By linking it with a sensor, it can demonstrate even higher accuracy when firing. Used most often as a support unit for Armored Cores and MT units as backup. Armored Core 2 Another Age only adds one other combat vehicle to the list, and it's the Jaguar 8, noted to have a rocket launcher as its only weapon. This name comes from the Armored Core 2 Another Age official guide, published by SoftBank. Well, Gen 2 is over rather quickly. How about we hit the 3rd generation of games next? Armored Core 3 again offers quite the small pool of combat vehicles, containing the Gustav Mark 7 and the Welder. The Gustav Mark 7 tank is very much like the Jaguar seen in Armored Core 2 Another Age, with only rockets to defend itself with. And the Welder, which is simply a crane with its crane arm now fitted with a laser cannon. You may have noticed that the lists are getting smaller and less wordy. The truth is, the information on these start to decline after the 2nd generation. You could say this was showing the decline in the use of combat vehicles, as muscle tracers, bioweapons, and armoured cores took over their role. As such, I will cut directly to the point here, naming the combat vehicles and where they are from until we reach a point where more information about the vehicles becomes clear. So in Armored Core Signed Line, we get the Gustav Mark 8 and the Grey Boar Mark 3. In Armored Core Nexus, we have the Type 86 Armoured Combat Vehicle, which is used by the OAE for transport, but can also fire missiles at targets, making it a combat vehicle. And the Sano Battle Tank, used by Navis, which again only uses rockets to defend itself, and it is noted to be very slow. This is all coming from the Armored Core Nexus Perfect Guide, page 383. In Armored Core Last Raven, We have one new vehicle, the anti-aircraft vehicle, and the return of the Type 86 armoured combat vehicle. We then come to the 4th generation of Armoured Core, covering Armoured Core 4 to 4 Answer. And it's here the list can go on, as once again, information on the nuts and bolts of the vehicles, if you will, is limited to pictures, names, and sometimes armor points if they are found in the Armoured Core 4 Official Operator's Guide, which I will show to the vehicles this applies to. Starting this list off is the GA-M4 Wild Boar tank. This name coming from the Armoured Core 4 Operation Guide, page 127. Here is what the page shows about this tank. We then have the GA-M6 Missile Shower. Once again, this vehicle is shown with some of its information on page 128 of the Official Operator's Guide. But we also have much more detailed drawings from the Armoured Core Designs for Answer book on page 100 and 101, which I will put on screen now. It's from these we can learn the vehicle has an 8-barreled gun equipped with 2 to 4 missiles, and the whole vehicle's total length is just under 10 meters, about 32.5 feet. There is also the GA-M1 Supernova, and for this vehicle, I will let the translated version of the picture speak for itself, as I think this picture and notes are worth it. This was found on page 100 of the Armoured Core Designs for Answer book. We then have the GAE-M3 Monster Gatling. This again has limited information coming from page 104 of the Armoured Core Designs for Answer book. I will also include the Shula here by Iqbal. However, the Official Operator's Guide notes it as an MT rather than a vehicle. The MFA-72HL Procyon also falls into the combat vehicle category. Some information on it can be found in the Official Operator's Guide, page 129, and on page 181 of the Armoured Core Designs for Answer book. And the last vehicle from the 4th generation we have is the Oni-Kubi tank, which some information about the tank can be found on page 129 of the Armoured Core 4 Official Operator's Guide. And from here it's a very, and I mean very, final hurdle, with the 5th generation covering Armoured Core 5 and Verdict Day offering 2 vehicles. These being the EZ-06 Argus, that's Argus, not Argos, Armour Train, and the T-160E Salon tank. While the tank has little to no information about it, the Armour Train is different, as from the Armoured Core 5 The Fact book, page 70, we can learn about the configuration of the train and a little about each part. The front part of the Argus is named the artillery vehicle, which has 2 grenade launchers on its roof for attacking. Behind this is the locomotive vehicle which runs the Argus. Behind that is the freight vehicle, which, while once used for cargo, now carries autonomous weapons. Behind this is another artillery vehicle armed with a large long-distance cannon on its top and missiles at the front and rear of it. Finally, the last part of this train is the vertical missile vehicle, which has multiple vertical missile launchers on its roof that can track foes. I will now show a picture of all the armaments that can be found on the armoured train. Finally, we come to the 6th generation of Armoured Core, and here we only have one vehicle, the CVT-020 Combat Vehicle. And it's from page 313 of the Armoured Core 6 Official Pilot Manual. We can see this vehicle has an anti-tank gun on its top, which according to the book loses its velocity at around 300 meters, making it less likely to hit and have to move closer to a foe. With this, the report on combat vehicles in the Armoured Core series comes to a close.